So I was filming some things for church and ended up down in their space. So we're doing that from here today. Today, as I'm filming this, and probably tomorrow as you're watching this, this is Ash Wednesday. And the life of the church as it surrounds Lent is one of my favorite seasons. Just the thematic of going through Lent and into Good Friday and into Easter. I enjoy it. I don't know. It's just one of my favorite church calendar moments. And I like to think of it as the centerpiece of the church calendar. It is a fun little season to exist in. But as we're kind of going through Lent, and as we're in this season, our scripture that we are utilizing at church for this season is Luke 4, starting with that temptation of Jesus and how that plays out. And I think that there was some stuff that stuck out in it. So I wanted to I don't know, make a quick video real fast and just kind of drill down on a few points of how I am experiencing Lent this year. And when we look at Luke 4, right at the very beginning of Luke 4, and we start to go down the temptations of Jesus, right? First, that he's in the desert and he's fasting, and at the end of that fasting, the devil shows up and is starting to tempt him and approach him with these attempts to pull him away from this mission that he's been sent on, to pull him away or out of the mission of God, what he's been sent to do. Really, that third temptation is what sticks out the most to me. Much like the first temptation, it is an attempt to pull Jesus, to deviate him from his path, the set path that he's on. This attempt by the devil leads Jesus to Jerusalem, and the devil brings him up to the top of the temple, and he says, "Jump." And Jesus' very simple response is no. The devil tries to leverage scripture to pull him in that direction, why wouldn't the Son of Man jump? Why wouldn't this be available to you? You're going to be safe. Look at this psalm that tells us so. And Jesus sticks with this response of no, and has a scripture from Deuteronomy that he kind of replies with of why he wouldn't go down this path. But I really believe that the setting of this temptation is probably more important than the underlying temptation itself, and really tells a bigger story than what is right there on the surface for us to grasp. Why is the devil pulling him into Jerusalem? Why is he trying to get him to jump off the temple? What's the purpose of this temptation? See, the devil has already tempted him 2 times beforehand, right? Here, strike the stone, make some bread. This earthly feeling you're feeling right now, you don't have to feel it. This is not necessary in your life to feel this way. You have the power to not feel that way. Why don't you just use that power? I really think the communication there being you are above this struggle, and Jesus' response being no, I'm purposely choosing this struggle. I don't live on just bread. My power comes from something different. The second one is this bow down to me, bow down to the devil, right? And all this earthly power, all this kingdom, all this whatever will be yours. You can have it all. You can be a king among men. Gold, women, glory. Jesus' response is that he basically says no, and he turns it down. In these temptations, Jesus begins to succeed where ancient Israel has failed, right? That's what we're communicating over those things. But Jesus, in his own mission, is starting to succeed. He's starting to show how he cannot be deviated from that path. God made himself flesh in the man of Jesus, right? He was sent to become the atonement for all creation, to make us all new. That's our good news. We know how to hold that. We know how to do that. Arguably, again, that's kind of the centerpiece of our calendar, right? Like we get to come in here for Lent. We get to experience this fasting moment that leads us to Good Friday, in which we lose that bridegroom, and then on Easter when he rises again. And I hope that that journey for all of us walking through it is palpable. We can feel it. On that Good Friday and in that calendar, right, in that cycle, Jesus is led into Jerusalem, much like the devil is leading him in this third temptation, right? He leads him into Jerusalem and takes him to the top of the temple. Very similar to what happens in our Good Friday story and our Easter stories, as Jesus is led into Jerusalem on a donkey, and then is basically asked to save himself, and is tempted more times to save himself. This pattern shows itself, right? In Luke 22, when Jesus acknowledges that pattern even and says, like, hey, I know this cup you've given me. Can we take that away? Is it a possibility for us to not have to do that? But he says, but if it is your will, like I'm doing it. I'm going to move forward with this. This is what I came here to follow, and I'm going to continue to do it. And he recommits himself to the knowledge of what comes on that cross. And then in Luke 23, when others even see him going through that experience and then criticize him publicly, like if he is the Christ, why doesn't he just save himself? Like just pull himself down from the cross. But Jesus says no and continues along this mission. And the devil is tempting Jesus to leave that mission, to leave the mission of God, because it is so easy to just save himself. And Jesus' response happens to be the greatest act of love the world has ever experienced. Really where that starts churning, right, is how do we in 2025, and here and now, respond to that? What does that mean in our practice of the Lenten season? And just like Good Friday and Easter, Lent is a season in which we are called to respond to what Jesus has done, and then to remember those actions and then to go and do likewise, right? So in this season, we generally fast. We intentionally become hungry so that we can sacrifice to draw ourselves closer into that mission of God, into what the reality of living Christ in our lives looks like. And I don't know about you, but my temptation in all of that is generally to live the mission of Matt, and it's not to live the mission of God. It's to live into what I have and what I can do and what my capacity brings. But that's all dust. That is all finite. It's limited. Hear me though, it's not bad. Like wanting to have a career and wanting to do all these things and wanting to be safe and not in danger, or wanting to not be hungry. These are not bad things, right? They're just limited things. They're not ultimate. As I choose to participate in Lent, I'm choosing to remember the actions of Jesus while he was tempted. I choose to become hungry. I choose to sacrifice power. I choose to give up authority so that the love of God can be seen more perfectly in the least of these. And I choose to say no to my own path so that the mission of God can be more easily seen in my own life. And when we sacrifice, we recognize that we come from dust, and to dust we shall return. That is the mantra of Ash Wednesday. But his love is the ultimate thing. It is the forever thing. His mission is forever. It is not finite. It is infinite. We practice this season to learn how to let go of what is finite and to take a hold of what is infinite. That is our practice during this season, and that is how I'm kind of grasping onto this. And really what I believe, which is, I hope this is not controversial in some way, but it's that through prayer and through scripture and through worship, through practicing these things, is how we resist the temptation to do otherwise. Because much like Jesus, the devil will attempt to pull us away from that mission. And in fasting and in not feeling good and in wanting all these things, we will be tempted to not And it's an easy temptation. And I think it's an easy one to give to. I don't think anybody, or maybe there are some people, but not me, who find that easy to not give into. But it is really a simple temptation that pulls us away from that mission. And the point of Lent is to go deeper, is to move in a direction of permanence, to remind us of those things. And it's an easy temptation to pull us away, but I think it's also an easy yes to say yes to Scripture and yes to prayer and yes to worship as practices to nudge us back in those directions. And in this season, we get to say yes to fasting while doing that, and it nudges us back in those directions. This idea of dust and permanence, of finite and infinite, of what we have and our power and our authority to execute things versus Christ, I think is significant. I think it's something that plays into this season more and more the older I get. And I think much more now in this day in March of 2025, right? I believe that it is this thing that we need to let go of what we see as dust. We're grasping a little hard onto that and take a hold again of what is infinite and what is Christ. Not by our own authority, but by His and His love and His mission. Because I think it's important for us to understand that His mission is enough, that His love is enough, and that us trying to assert ourselves on top of that, it's finite. It's not infinite. But His love is infinite. And I think we need to practice trusting Him just a little bit more. I love y'all. Thanks for showing up. Glad you're here. Hopefully see you next week. I don't know. We'll find out. Bye.